Cover this piece of plastic. It's a molded piece of plastic, I think, or fiberglass. Or I'm going to cover this in leather. Quite a lot of people would do this in pieces. They'd make patterns and put seams in and join pieces together. I'm going to do this in one piece of leather. The tricky areas on things like this are any internals. So things like this where it's an internal slope, angle change, divot, recess. They're always the trickiest things to cover. When they go over the top, then they're much easier. Now up here we have both. We have a lot of internals and a lot of external curves. I've cut the piece already. It is well oversized. You're always better to cut things much bigger than you think, or a lot bigger than you think, because when I come to manipulate this leather, I'm not going to stretch the leather. Well, I am, but a job like this isn't about actually stretching the leather, it's about manipulating the leather. There are certain areas where I have too much leather and other areas where I don't have enough, and what I'm trying to do is to move the leather where I have a lot and try and position it where I need it where there's not enough. So things like this, there isn't enough leather to go around there, but because we've got a dish in here, I can force this leather down at this point and give me more. It's the same here. I have too much leather going around here, but I want to get rid of it in places, so I need to stretch this way to get rid of all of that, and this way to get rid of all that. But I'm also going to stretch towards this bit here to try and give me more leather to get around this. So if I try and do that and push all that, we get a bit more leather. So it's just a case of knowing where to stretch. When I first start this, I'm going to work at this point here, this high spot, and I'm going to stretch the high spot over and give myself even more leather at this point. So from about here and here, I'm going to put quite a lot of stretch in this part here and this part here. That will get rid of all this excess that I've got at the top, because if you imagine the distance along this edge here is greater than the distance from that point to that point. I'm trying to lose the difference. It's very hard to explain. It's something that I'm going to have to show you what I'm doing. Now prep this surface. I'm going to spray it all with contact adhesive. Same with the leather, spray all that with contact adhesive. Let them both go off completely. So I'll wait at least half an hour and then I'll start to glue this. Panel, I sprayed the leather. I've given the leather 2 coats. I always do that. I always give it 1 coat, go on to the plastic part. By the time you spray the plastic part, the leather has absorbed quite a lot of the first layer of glue, so then you just put another layer over the top. It is quite absorbent. It will soak up the glue, so you need to put a little bit more on the leather. Obviously the plastic won't absorb anything, or the fiberglass, or whatever it is. So I'm going to leave both of these now for a while. I'll come back when the glue is no longer tacky and I'll start to apply the leather to the part. So the glue on this now is, it's very, very slightly tacky. It's been over an hour. Because I've left the glue so long, it doesn't matter if I lay this on top now. It won't stick. I need to make sure everything is roughly in the right place. Right, I've just been checking, make sure that I can get the leather over everything, it's in the correct position. I'm going to start at the high spot, that's here. I want to just stretch the leather from about this point here that way. So I'm just going to apply a little bit of pressure to that part there. I'll just hold that in place. And when I stretch this, it will start to pull the leather round this way, and also the leather will start to wrap around this top edge here. So I'm just going to use a bit of steam on this bit here. That'll just make the leather supple and allow me to stretch it a little bit better. It'll also activate the glue as well. I have to make sure that we're all in the correct position. Now, if you remember me saying I need more leather around here, I'm going to pull the leather down into here and try and stretch it at the same time this way, but also remembering that I need some leather over that direction where this is. So a lot to think about, a lot of manipulating of the leather. Alright, so I've got quite a bit of leather here. You can see where it's wrinkled up there. Now I should be able to stretch this slightly this way and slightly that way. So now I've got excess leather here. I'm going to bring the excess leather that way, because that's where I need it. I need it around here. So I'm going to deliberately pull everything that way. Right, I think I've got enough leather now to go around here. Now I've got loads of excess here, but I'm going to pull this excess that way. Spotting on this bit here now. So I'm just trying to get as much of this around that. You can probably see there's a massive amount of leather there, but I can get rid of that. Just by laying it on and just seeing where the leather falls, it gives me an understanding of what I need to do. Excess here, and I want to bring that excess that way. I'm going to stretch this bit here diagonally. Now I'm going to put our first cut in, and it's going to be there, just to relieve some tension there. Stretch that over as much as I can. Pulling the leather that way to try and get enough in to get around this thing. I'm going to put another cut in here, just to help quite a lot. Be relatively plain sailing from now on. Slowly working my way towards the edge. Keep a bit of tension on the leather here. Right, so that's most of that on. I need to deal with this bit now. As you can probably see, there's excess leather in places, so I just need to work the excess leather out. I'm going to start at this end. Just going to wrap the bit over. I'm just going to steam from the back now, or from the other side. I'm just going to put some relief cuts in as I work along this edge here. Flip it over again. You can see this bit here is going to be an issue. I'm going to have to stretch the leather that way quite a lot to get rid of that. Another relief cut there. Now I'm going to have to stretch this excess this way. It helps if I add a bit less leather. That much. Slowly pulling this way. Getting rid of that excess. Last bit. Look at that. Flip it over. Obviously I need to glue everything around the back now. Now I did cut quite a lot of leather. You can see how much I've cut this piece off of here, and obviously I've got quite a bit extra in places, but I'd rather have that than not enough. So that is now covered in one piece of leather. It was tricky in parts. This part here was tricky, and obviously this part was tricky. Everything else was reasonably straightforward, nothing too fancy. Things can be covered in one piece of leather if you really try. Some people would have put a seam across the top here, had this as a separate piece, and maybe had this part as a separate piece here, and maybe that as a separate piece even. As you see, you don't need all these seams. I think sometimes seams can look a little bit messy. Maybe one across the top here would have been alright, but trying to get this seam absolutely straight, it's a very weird shape. It goes up, down, in, out. It does the whole lot. It's not been possible to do it like that, but I just think it looks a lot nicer and neater when it's just all one piece. If you don't agree, then tell me why. Tell me why you think seams look good, if you think they look good. Sometimes they do, but not always. And seams for the sake of seams when you don't need them sometimes looks a little bit overdone. So hope you enjoyed that video, hope you learned something from it. If you did, hit that like button, and I hope you subscribed, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye.